If you just cherry pick historic digest, you don't really know anything. You're just after what you can poach in order to distort things to your advantage. And so, in asking, how do we know that there's lackeys of Trumpy Putinese? Well, if you look at the back of my father's obituary, it has German Green Party. In Seattle, Green Party means Black Lives Matters. Even when it's military sniveled and hot wired together by Burmese monks, because that's Seattle's poacher cherry pick of the idea. But a white parochial did the honors. His name's Donohue, about injecting parochial values, and they misprinted Mount Beatty to indicate the plan to take me to Mount Desert Island in my anti-apartheid article, and got my, if you try to help black men, they're just going to turn on you. And then they organized, the Licky Chops pornographers. Well, one of the lackeys of the Trumpy Toon Putinese angled at me with the expression um, intentional ignorance. And this amazing idea that he could utter such a fantasy about a 13-year-old, 12-year-old, 11-year-old. I was 9 when Michael Reagan's favorite scene was Peace pours luck on me. Well, if you take like a man I spoke to at the ballpark who was intelligent, he crossed paths with Dave Naas, intelligent adult with grandchildren. And I mentioned that Mans and Mancine had similar phonemes. And the extra scene in Man Scene was like cinema of man, but it was also like cinema, Manson cinema. And of course, we know that the Licky Jobs pornographers have been making snuff films. So let's get to the Croquet Greguster coroner and her little brat Sean. I was talking to Bobby Callow one day about J.G. Bennett, who had contact with Gurdjieff, who toured Russia. Ouspensky came out of Kharkiv and Moscow, and how Bennett had said, the universe has a requirement of man that's analogous to man's requirement of cattle for their meat and their leather. And Callow said, oh, that does sound like a Russian idea. Well, Flippy Toon, in his claim that there's going to be another ice age and virginity proves rape, it says these ideas are taken to be acted upon. These ideas are taken to be acted upon as a way of life, as a way of life. Number nine, number nine. So what they're doing is like saying, can you see that Revolution Number Nine was real? Can you see that it was acted upon? Can you see how do we bring these people to consciousness of what we've accomplished? How do we moonbask under the sacred hymn of the Snibble Path? And they murdered King and Bobby Kennedy, and then they played a trick. They pretended that they pulled a Houdini, and everybody was tricked. So they bandwagoned on to the Trumpington Mutinies and said, "Woo-hoo-hoo, we're gonna make money helping the people who murdered us." It's like, how do you get um, the Jews in Auschwitz to go, come on in, hurry up, to the Jews coming on the trains? It was really that sick. They had the Beatles playing love songs like the violinist at Sobibor. And they took me to a place called King's Estate, and gassed me with a man named Casper. And you can't say that. Why? Because they're Jewish. Oh. And they have lookalikes of the girls who were most excellent of the script on the cover of Roman pink porno from Japan. Lookalikes of them, only with Japanese eyes. And the whole thing is indexed to Neva Scene, which is a gigantic pornography company, in cold blood, in broad daylight. And they say they're just defending themselves. And along comes one of the dacoits, starts licky chopsing about intentional ignorance of a battered deaf 10-year-old. For Donohue Green Party, man, that means, let me see, that means, better ask Gretchen, was the black man wronged? Gretchen will say, yes, the black man was wronged. Oh, I see, the black man was wronged. That's what that means.